Your brain is constantly deciding whether you're safe or in danger. And that decision can determine whether pain stays switched on or if it gets switched off. Most people think that making the brain feel safe is about breathing exercises and meditation or relaxation. But I would argue that the number one thing that determines whether or not your brain feels safe is whether you act or react. That one difference completely changes the message your brain receives, and whether it responds with pain or whether it turns the pain down. In this video, I'll show you how to catch yourself reacting and shift into acting in real time so your brain can finally start to feel safe and turn the pain alarm down. When you feel your pain or your symptoms, what is your knee-jerk response? Probably something like, oh, not now, or no, 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 no. Then comes the fear, frustration, anxiety, or dread. This is the reaction. Now, I know I said in the intro to this video that the difference is whether you act or react, but let's face it, most of the time we don't get to choose how we react. That knee-jerk response to pain or illness is not really within our control. But what you do next dictates whether that reaction picks up steam and just runs downhill, or whether you take control and change direction. So what do I mean by that? Let's take a really normal, mundane example. You're going about your day, walking around your house, and then you stub your toe on the coffee table. We've all been there. Your reaction is probably going to be, ow, 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 ow. And that's totally fine. No one can control that. Not even the Dalai Lama himself is going to react to stubbing his toe with peace and love. But we all know that person who takes that stubbed toe and goes, why was the coffee table even there? This is the last thing I needed. This is gonna ruin my day. Versus the other person who goes, deep breath. This was clearly a sign I needed to slow down. It's so simple and yet so hard to put into practice. And I think part of the reason that it's so difficult is because you can tell that those two people don't just approach stubbing their toe differently. They have both practiced those choices. There is a lot of momentum behind the way we react to things. It's to do with past experiences, how we've been taught to handle our emotions, what we've practiced in the past. So how does this apply to your pain and symptoms? Because I don't want to compare your chronic, debilitating pain and illness to stubbing your toe. That's not what I'm saying. But at the same time, our lives are made up of constant reactions. When I was really in the thick of my eczema, when I felt a flare-up coming on, my initial reaction was fear. And that's completely understandable. If you've ever had eczema, you know how gnarly it can get. But after that initial reaction, I didn't know that my emotions and how I proceeded could actually affect my eczema. I didn't realize that there was even a connection. So I would just run with that fear. Oh my God, I've got a flare up coming. I need to lock myself away. I need to control everything. I need to blah, 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 blah. And I would sort of work myself up into this frenzy. I didn't give myself any time or space to take a breath and be like, whoa, okay, this is coming, but I know how to handle this, because I did. But when I learned the connection between my emotions and my flare-ups, and that I could actually manage this fear and this panic and choose to stay calm even when my body was having a flare-up, that's when things started to look very different. Instead of going into a frenzy, I would go very calm. I would really focus on self-soothing, and I would prepare myself and my environment to make things easier on myself. And in time, that actually helped cool down my flare-ups. They became less severe and less long. Maybe not the first or second time I did this, but over time, with repetitions and practice, my flares got less and less intense because I wasn't adding fuel to the fire by letting that initial reaction run away from me. I was giving my brain feedback that I was safe, that all was well, and that I was in control. And it wouldn't be a single choice. That's the important thing to remember. With a stubbed toe, it is just one moment. But with a flare-up or with chronic pain, there are multiple points along the way where you have to choose again and again and again. So how can you do this in real life? When you feel your pain or symptoms starting to come on, just notice that initial reaction, the fear, the panic, the tension, even the trying to push it away or fix it, and just have some compassion for yourself. In fact, having compassion for yourself in that moment is far more useful than trying to change yourself in that moment. And also that compassion will help open up more options for you so that you can then pause and interrupt the momentum of that reaction, to just take a second, to take a deep breath. Maybe not even to get rid of the emotions, but just to give yourself enough time to decide, what do I want to do right now? And this is the moment that you shift from reaction to action. And then ask yourself, what would help me feel in control right now? What would help me feel more calm right now? And if there's something that you would normally do to help yourself get through a flare-up, do it. But do it from a place of calm, not panic. Remind yourself and tell your brain, I've got this. I've done this before. I will get through this. This will pass. And with that shift, with that choosing, with that breaking of the momentum of that fear and panic, you tell your brain that you are in fact safe, that you do in fact got this, and that you are in control. And that will help your brain calm down and reduce the need to send those stress hormones like adrenaline and help your body relax and calm down even while you're going through this flare-up. And every time you choose to take these steps to go through this process, you're taking fuel off the fire instead of adding to it. This is really the only way out, because this is the way to retrain your nervous system. Of course, there are things that we can do in between our flare-ups or our triggers. Meditation, breathing, affirmations, whatever you like. But ultimately, the rubber hits the road in these moments. These moments where we are reacting to our symptoms, reacting to life. The moments when we're forced to choose. These are the moments where we can really retrain our nervous system and the most work gets done. You don't have to get it right every single time. In fact, you won't, because you don't realize how strong that momentum is until you try and change it. And this isn't just about pain. So many things in life can trigger the same kind of reactions: fear, anxiety, frustration. And it's in practicing choosing a different response to all of those things that helps turn the tide. Because pain is a protective response gone wild. Now, if you want to know more about how pain is a protective mechanism, subscribe to this channel, because that's basically all I talk about. Chronic pain and illness, and how our brain can create symptoms from a hypervigilant state, and how to break that cycle. And if you're already on this path and you're feeling a little bit lost, I've created a free email series called Finding Your Feet, which helps guide you through that early stage in the path when everything feels very uncertain and chaotic. It's a series that I wrote with my past self in mind and the things that I really needed to hear when I was starting this journey. So check that out in the description below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.